MGM saying that last month's cyber attack cost the company around $100 million. This as officials suspect that Scattered Spider, the hackers linked to the MGM and Caesar breaches, is also behind the attack on Clorox, according to a report from Bloomberg. Now, Clorox warning earlier this week that it expects sales to fall by more than 20% in its most recent quarter, thanks to fallout from the hack. Now, with more on this and what these series of attacks means for corporate America, we want to bring in Allie Mellon, a Forrester Principal Analyst of Security and Risk. Allie, it's good to see you. So what this case and what these cyber attacks mean just in terms of how vulnerable many large U.S. corporate giants are. What's your big takeaway from these developments this week?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. The main thing that I would highlight here is that one of the things that we often talk about in security is that any organization can be targeted by these types of attacks. And often, especially for criminal groups that are well organized and have a system in place, they're looking for the bigger fish to target. They're looking for the bigger organizations that they are able to target and then get larger sums of money out of. So it's not surprising to see that these are the types of targets that they would choose, in particular because many of the organizations that they're choosing to target rely on continuous uptime. At the end of the day, the biggest thing that a cyber attack can cause and affect a business with is business continuity issues. And that's especially true for organizations like casinos and consumer goods. So ultimately, those are going to be huge targets because they're the ones who are really going to feel the pain from these types of attacks.
What type of cybersecurity spending as a result of these attacks are we anticipating to come about from major organizations or even public entities?
Definitely an increase in the cybersecurity spend that these organizations have. And further, one of the interesting takeaways from what's happening with Clorox right now is they highlighted their efforts towards digital transformation more broadly as a part of their announcements related to the cyber attack. That is an excellent sign because ultimately, the more that you're able to transform your organization and move towards some of the latest technologies, you change to a model that's much more focused on collaboratively working with your third-party partners, that's focused on using the latest technology, removing legacy technology that you may have previously been using. And it just furthers all of your ability to implement cybersecurity best practices from the start of the new technologies that you're working with.
Allie, some of these cyber attacks, when it comes to MGM, Caesars, they demanded a ransom payout. And it was interesting because Caesars did make that payment, MGM didn't, and now they're saying they took a $100 million hit as a result of it. What should companies be doing when they're put in this type of situation?
Well, ideally, these companies are going to lead with security best practices and not be put in these situations to begin with. But unfortunately, just as I mentioned, these things happen. These types of attacks happen. It's critically important for organizations to work closely between their cybersecurity branches and their IT branches to make sure that they have backups in place and can recover quickly. It's also critically important to have incident response processes in place so that they can recover from these types of attacks quicker. And like we saw with Clorox, so that they can communicate to external stakeholders effectively and clearly and transparently and maintain some of that trust.